Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't the only one that said that too. Just,
Jeez.
He's the fastest thing alive. Oh wait, that's Sonic.
No, he's not. He's not fast.
Shut your mouth.
Well, are we looking at the game theorist now? Because
Yes.
yes.
If you go by pixels, he is going 30-something miles an hour.
That's it? Well, maybe when we watch the movie, it'll explain how Dr. Robotnik can run so fast, because he's powered by some sort of magic interdimensional animal energy.
Thermonuclear intergalactic space age mutant ninja asparagus.
Asparagus. I've never had
the
asparagus.
sequel.
I like asparagus.
I've never had asparagus.
Or an
See, I'm
intergalactic
trying to-
proton-powered electrical tentacle advertising droid. Or a wacky wavy inflatable arm flailing tube man. Super fighting robot.
That's what it was.
Mega Man. Super fighting robot.
Oh, wrong one.
Mega Man. Should look up the German version. Seriously.
Really?
Yeah.
Alright, I'm going to look that up.
Soft kitty, warm kitty, little
Ball of fur. Happy kitty, sleepy kitty, purr, purr, purr.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Retro Game Night. I am Player 1, and my name is Damien, and as always I am joined with my trusty companions, Player 2, Kyle. Hello. Player 3, Josh.
Good evening!
And the Player 4 over there,
Boogie woogie woogie.
Ben. And we are here to chat everything all about things in retro gaming, and sometimes we sneak in some new stuff too, but I don't think that's going to happen tonight. What's going on, guys?
Boogie woogie woogie till you just can't boogie no more.
Boogie woogie booger man.
Yeah,
Boogers.
let's go with that.
Yeah, we're looking forward to Spider-Man Far From Home. That's
And
just opened this week. So.
Yeah, that's this
Yeah.
Friday, right?
What?
Right.
Wow, that's...
Actually, no, I believe Tuesday. Or tonight, technically.
Oh, like it's
Midnight
supposed to
showings.
be out Friday, but it's being early screening Wednesday, and then really it's midnight.
Actually, I think it's Tuesday, July 2nd.
Oh, so they stopped the Friday thing. Now it's all just like midweek, huh?
I believe they changed that up a little bit because Thursday is July 4th.
Oh, well, no, that doesn't make sense to me. If it was July 4th, that would make more sense because it'd be more of a holiday.
Celebrating a little too early.
Anyway.
Yeah.
They're
But, yeah,
just being
that-
different.
Yeah.
They're just like, I want my movie out today.
I want to get my arachna on.
Well, they're
Yeah.
Marvel. They can do
Don't
what
you be
they
getting
want.
into my movie schedules, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
That I look forward to that. That's gonna be good. We'll have to cover a Spider-Man game. We've been talking about that for a while to do. I like pretty much
Any
every
of them?
Spider-Man game from NES all the way to
Sega Master System.
all of them. Like even to the PS4 days. I mean, like they're all great. Like each one, even though they're so repetitive. Some people find them very repetitive.
Get
Shut up,
the-
Kyle.
Get-
Some of us like some sort of repetitive sometimes.
Hey, I didn't say anything bad about doing retro stuff as being repetitive. I'm just saying new stuff. Come on now.
We should probably get to our show. Do
we have to?
We.
I just wanna talk.
Hi.
Well, speaking
yeah.
of repetition,
Yeah.
What game were we going over?
Well, there's only like 20 sequels of it. No, Mega Man. We're talking about Mega Man tonight.
Which
Super
one?
fighting robots.
Does it hold up? Mega Man. Is it frustrating as all heck? Yes. We will talk about that, and we're starting with the first one. So let's get started with. I think the person to go to first would be Ben. Ben, you kind of like got me into Mega Man, honestly. Like I always liked Mega Man as a kid, but talking about Mega Man and You know,
Mega Man.
whatever.
Dr. Wowie.
Mega Man.
That's a good question.
So, what do you think of it? Tell me, tell me your first memories, nostalgic memories of owning the cartridge.
Well, once again, I say that's a good question, Mega Man.
Yeah, right.
My first memory was borrowing it from a friend, my friend Carlos down the street.
Carlos.
Carlitos, where are you? He let me borrow it, and
Oh god.
You did give it back, right?
I did. Yeah, I
Okay.
did, and I remember it was the weirdest thing for the longest time. Well, I don't even. I think I borrowed it and returned it without realizing you could actually select a different level. I don't
You
know
didn't
how
know that whole time.
I didn't know how. I must have been like rapid fire on the start button because went straight to Cutman.
You just kept playing Cutman.
I kept playing Cutman, and I did not know.
You're like, there's more to this than I thought.
I'm pretty sure that's my memory. I'm pretty sure I ended up returning it at some point, and I was told that you could choose another level. I'm like, what?
It is one of the first games that allowed you to choose
Seems
what
like,
level
yeah.
you wanted to go to.
Yeah.
Right.
That was pretty cool. No cheats, no
Pretty
password
funny.
needed. You could go in any order you'd like.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then it gave you the passwords to be able to continue playing your game,
There was
right?
no passwords.
No?
Not in
No.
the first game.
Oh,
no.
sorry. I'm
Yeah.
thinking other games.
No
My
passwords.
bad.
No energy tanks.
You might be
That's
thinking
right.
of Metroid.
Well, no,
Metroid had
But
a password.
I mean, but two on up, there were passwords.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm still
so
thinking
just-
Metroid's like 20 numerical. Get the right
Justin Bailey
all of
got
it
it.
down.
Yeah.
Put it in
Yeah.
your case so that way you keep your saves.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So you didn't own it at this point. You borrowed it, and you kept repeating Cutman's level over
Yeah,
and
the
over?
first time I borrowed it, and
How far did you get? Do you remember, like, starting out?
I must not have beaten Cutman. Is
Okay.
my if I didn't realize you could play another level unless I kept playing Cutman over again after beating him. I mean, I don't know.
Ben walks away with it. Yeah, I won the game.
Why am I beating this guy again?
Yeah, it was very strange.
Rage quit after the third time going after Cutman.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't own a Mega Man. I didn't own Mega Man 2 right away, and I played it at a friend's house, and we beat it. But I think it was the third game that was my first game to own of the Mega Man series.
Do you remember renting NES games?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone did that.
Video
right?
for you, baby.
Video for you out in Thousand Oaks. Yeah, that was
Video
the
for you.
spot. Although when I was a kid, I was in Los Angeles, and it was 2020 Video and Blockbuster Video. Those were
Yeah,
the places to go.
Blockbuster. There was
Yeah.
one other one in TO that I can't remember the name of, but that we went to frequently. But Video for You was one of the most common ones I went to. It was the closest to my house.
Yeah,
Mine-
it was good memories.
Mine was Game Exchange out in Simi.
They actually rented games out there, or
Yeah.
was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did renting. They even games, consoles, everything.
Oh,
That's all I had to
Albertsons.
do.
Oh, Albertsons. That's
Albertsons,
right.
yeah,
I do
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah.
I gotta remember something like that too, where grocery stores like Vons
Yeah.
and stuff
Mhm.
did too.
They
I
did.
remember at least Albertsons. I remember that.
I remember getting Chameleon Kid
Yeah,
at
that's a good
Vons,
game.
being able to rent that there. So bizarre to think that grocery stores allowed you to rent video games. That's
Yeah.
so bizarre.
Yeah.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, when you go like East Coast or even mid East, they still have stores that have everything. Like it'll be rentals and mini stores inside, like electronic stores, and like you
Yeah.
know they make that's kind of a big thing over there. It's more like California that we don't really have that anymore now. It's just all separate stores.
Yeah, all we have now is the red box, and even then, that's only the most current games for the most current systems.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to
I mean,
borrow an old school game. You have to
rent,
buy it.
You can't rent like ColecoVision or something, I mean,
Right. But yeah, do you have any memories with it, Kyle, or did you get into it more recent? I can't remember.
My first run across with Mega Man was in the X series. Is when I started to play Mega Man. So going back in our retro game nights and playing through the games was my first encounter with the older versions of the game. But still, you know, being able to run through these and playing them I still get the same enjoyment out of them that I do with the X games.
Because this happens with me, I don't know if it happens with you, but playing a game that you didn't play when you were a kid, but you play it now, can you put yourself in that mode of when you were a kid and think like, I wonder what I would have thought of this as a kid. Like, this is kind of cool to take me back to 1987 or 88 or whatever it is.
I was 2.
Okay, let's
take
go more
yourself back to
90s.
when you were 2.
No, I actually don't have much memory as a child, so it's hard for me to go back to those times and think about
Certain
how
things will
life was
trigger,
then.
right?
Yeah, certain things in games will trigger memories of my childhood, but to try to put myself back in my childhood, I have a hard time doing that. But being able to play these games right now, it doesn't negate the fun of them. I enjoy seeing how things used to be, being able to compare them with the newer stuff, and seeing the roots of where these newer games came from and the kind of changes that they had throughout their career.
Right. For me, I feel even if they're games that I didn't play as a kid, even though it was within my era, I either didn't own it or just didn't rent it, or I didn't have a family member that had it. We'd play it on retro game night, and I would still get that sense of nostalgia because it would either be made by a well-known company like Konami or Data East or Ocean.
Right, and have a good
those old
composer.
school games. Yeah, and it would still sound like another game I remember, and it would be that cool, fuzzy feeling because it'd be like, wow, this is something that I would have played back then, but I just didn't get around to it. It's kind of cool.
Right, it's kind of like what I said when on one of our live shows when I was talking about Secret of Mana. It's one of those games where I don't really have a memory tied to it, but going back to the game gives you that warm, little fuzzy feeling, and that right there is what I get when I play these older games, because it compares to stuff that I have played in the past, even though I'm playing it now. So I get those feelings just because it reminds me of those other ones.
Yeah. Josh, what do you feel about Mega Man? Did you have a time with it as a young one, or?
I never owned any of the Mega Man series games, and I do have some faintest memories. I don't know if it was maybe just coming over to a friend's house and playing their copy of the game. I do have some faint memories, but I really don't remember playing. It really wasn't until I started meeting up with you guys and going through the whole series that I really got into it. And going back to the question you had for Kyle, as far as looking back, I really don't think the younger version of me would have been able to take these games.
I kind of agree with you. Yeah, some games are just so hard that I know my younger self wouldn't have done it, but I guess I see it more of a time capsule, kind of going back to, say, 88 or 89. It's like, whoa, this is, just like games in 89, I remember.
It's kind of funny you say that, because we were just trying out a little bit of Super Star Wars. Just a little bit before we were recording, and that game is so hard right now. But yet you remember it being a short game and being able to beat it really easily.
Yeah,
I
was really dedicated. That's why I loved Star Wars, and it was like, I did play it on easy because I was maybe 12 when I played it, and I loved the trilogy, and Star Wars, and it was just like the movie, and the graphics were great.
You're sitting there eating your C3PO cereal or something, and whatever it was.
Well, but that's my point, is the fact that you look at these Mega Man games right now and think back at, my younger self wouldn't be able to take that, but yet you were able to do Super Star Wars. So it's like we're so used to how games are nowadays that to try to put ourselves back at that time and to think if we would be able to have the tolerance to be able to do it, I think we would be able to do a lot more back then with these games, just because that's what games were.
Old fart moment for a second here. Kids have it easy.
They do.
I mean, like, we used to really work for it. Like, for our games, we used to just play the first level a bazillion times of a game we liked, just because that's what we had.
And then you get perfect at it.
Then you get great at it, and then you could feel like you conquer the world. But I remember going through many 1, 2, and 3 levels, because that's as far as you could go unless you had a Game Genie.
Right.
Yeah, there were no endless continues. If you had a game that you were lucky enough to get a password to be able to continue your progress, that's one thing.
You were so lucky if you had a password.
But then there's others that they just punished you. You didn't memorize every single enemy and every trajectory of every blast that was coming your way.
Silver Surfer.
bam,
Oh,
gone.
my
Yeah.
goodness, Silver Surfer and the
Battletoads.
Transformers game for NES. Just
Ugh.
like, has anyone actually beaten it? I'm sure.
Probably,
I'm sure
like,
in
people
Japan
that are nuts.
somewhere that.
It's like
Without the cheats, I
Battletoads,
mean.
like
Yeah,
some of the hardest games.
I mean, and that's the thing. I guess it's just part of their culture that they like challenges like that.
Well,
Just
some people are really good. It's
impossibility.
like was the guy who basically ended up being called Master Higgins out here. I think his name was Takahashi. He had he could literally like rapidly like shoot thing, like in an old shoot 'em up, for instance.
Yeah.
They like that, Master Higgins from Adventure Island. That's actually that guy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's this real guy, and
I
he was
remember
like
hearing
he was
about
so
this.
quick with his movements, especially like with shoot 'em ups or whatever. And it's like I can't even compare.
Yeah.
Oh, he would do the vibrate thing with his
Yeah.
thumb and the
His
controller.
thumb
I don't
would
know
be
how
turbo.
Just,
Yeah.
it just yeah.
But yeah, I think that. I mean, it's weird, but I mean, it must be a culture thing because I mean, it's not like here in America we're not dedicated by any means, but it's weird how they just naturally go towards the impossibility. And I even mean that as a compliment towards innovation. Like they're the top dogs as far as coming up with new stuff, and here in America we just take it in because we're just fascinated by it. And back then it was no different. It was just I was fascinated by how difficult things were. It's just like wow, like it's really bad. Like I couldn't get through first 3 levels of something, and I had to get a Game Genie to get get a little further.
It makes me think of in this Mega Man game that we're talking about, Gutsman's level. Just the very beginning of his level and those platforms that you would have to try to memorize to get onto
man.
them. We had a friend who was playing them with us, and he would get so mad because we even had save states, so he could even
Yeah.
go back to making it.
Still wasn't good enough.
Yeah, and he was trying to do it like for like 10 minutes
Yeah.
or more,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just trying to get past those platforms. Just that alone is insane.
Yeah, when I eventually did discover that you could play other levels, I did eventually. I was able to actually pass those. I remember being able to pass those platforms, but the game was still hard.
You said you beat one of them straight through without any cheats, right?
3, but even then, I found my own cheats
Oh.
because
Okay.
those levels with the where you go through 4 of the levels and then you end up fighting against Mega Man 2 bosses. I found a way of like figuring out the password to get past them.
The
Yes.
trial and error password.
Yeah, and then got to Dr. Wowie and
Dr. Wowie.
yeah, and beat him.
And that was a realization I had when the first time we played through the original Mega Man game, I guess maybe about a year or 2 ago.
Yeah.
And, oh, hey, we beat all the bosses. Okay, great. We're on the final stage to Dr. Wily. And it just keeps going and going. Oh, now you're facing this boss again. Now you're
Right.
facing all the bosses. Okay.
Boss
Oh, there's
gauntlet.
another stage. And then there's another stage. And, okay,
there's-
now
Oh,
there's
but that's-
Dr. Wily, I
But
think.
that's just
right?
the first game. I mean, you get into the
Yeah.
later games, and there's yet another castle.
It gets longer.
Yeah.
Roll is not in this castle, Mega Man. She's in the next castle.
Yeah, with this
Yeah.
one, there was only 6 original robots,
Mhm.
and then there was 5 extra levels after that.
5?
Yeah.
I thought it was 4.
No, it's 5. But then, as the other games come along, it's like 9 original robots with
8.
5. It's either 8 or 9, because usually it would be like 3 on top, 3 on the bottom, and 2 on the sides.
Yeah,
So
so 1,
8.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
8. Okay, then I'm bad at math. Or just counting in general. I'm tired. Leave me alone tonight.
Well, and they did add for the PSP version of Mega Man, the first Mega Man. They did add 2 more characters, Oil Man and Time Man, I think it was.
Yeah, so
So-
you had those guys, and then like what you said, you would have your sub boss castle where you would go through, and you had like another 5 levels on that, and then you finally got to Dr. Wily's castle, and then you had another 6 levels on top of that, including going back and fighting robots that were in the first robots that you fought, plus then also some robots that came in from other games that he brought back, and you're just like, oh my god.
I remember when we went through that on Retro Game Night how long it felt, but then the reward of when we finished it was like man, I just went through a journey, dude.
Yeah,
I just went.
Mega Man games
I
make
just
you feel
went from
good.
the Shire to Mordor and dropped my ring, dude. That was something.
You dropped that mic.
That's right. Do you feel, Ben, that the other games in comparison to the first are a complement to each other, or do you feel the first one's less great than the other ones in comparison? How do you view the first one amongst the, let's say, the first 6 on the NES?
Well, I love the first one. I even little plug. I started remixing all the music for it on my own for a planned TurboGrafx version, like planned as homebrew
Right.
TurboGrafx
okay.
version.
Yeah.
So-
I came pretty close to finishing that, but so it's definitely in my heart. Like it, I love it. Still very hard.
Something that you even wanted to remaster, or not remaster, but redo on your own. That's really cool.
Yeah.
For our listeners that don't know Ben, he dabbles a little bit in homebrew. Tell our listeners a little bit more about what you were saying about the music and what kind of projects you've taken part in.
Well, as far as music, I remixed the music in a game called Mysterious Song. That was we ended up rebuilding for the TurboGrafx CD. I do wish I had actually redone it from scratch, but that's just my own personal gripe of my own. I ended up just remixing it instead of rebuilding it completely. But and then I also ended up doing being the voice actor for the main character.
And I'll say your music is very good. I mean, I remember when we were a lot younger, you showing me what you were working on, and to this day I still think it's great music. Do you think that you would pursue more of a side project career in that, or do you feel like it's just a for fun kind of thing?
It's mainly for fun. I mean, I do have several projects I was working on that haven't gotten finished. Some of them are out there. Like you can look up Jungle Brothers for the TurboGrafx. There's like 6 different videos you can look up, and you hear some of my music and a build of the game that unfortunately never got finished, and I still hold on to hope that it'll get finished someday. But and there's several other games we were planning out, and I hope will be picked up at some point.
And when you mean by picked up, you mean just any company that would like to?
Just a programmer is the main thing.
Oh, okay.
Programmer. But I haven't even been in contact with some of the other guys that we were working together with, so I'm not totally sure. Like I know one guy picked up the code for that particular game, Jungle Brothers, and he was going to finish it, but I haven't. That's been several years now.
Yeah.
That's kind of the cool thing about TurboGrafx. It seems like is that it's pretty easy for people, or maybe not easy, but it seems more attuned to being able to take on homebrew projects like what you're saying, being able to take that code and put it into a disc that it could read, or a cartridge that it could read, and
might
being
have
able to play it.
That might have a lot to do with the fact that it's Red Book audio, right? Because
Yeah,
of the fact
with
that you
CD
can
games,
compose real music.
Yeah, there's not a lot of support for the cartridge-based music. There is some tools out there. I've never really dabbled with them. I should one of these days. Work on some chip music, but I just haven't gotten into it. And they've tried to encourage others to do that, but it's pretty much CD projects. I mean, there was actually literally one cartridge game made like a couple years ago called Atlantean, and with chip tunes and everything, really, and physical release.
I wonder if you would say that chiptune music would be harder or versus actual instruments on a keyboard. I made the Retro Game Night theme song that you hear when we start the podcast, and that wasn't exactly easy. I would say it was very intricate and just kind of confusing. but I kind of went to a simple realm with it. But have you dabbled in chiptune or?
No, I really haven't. I just really haven't dabbled into it at all. I'm so used to using a keyboard and then making really fleshed out, even if it has an 8-bit or 16-bit sound, like really fleshing it out, as opposed to doing any kind of chip tunes.
Yeah.
So
what could we say, since we're on the subject of the music, what do you guys think of the music in Mega Man? Catchy? You guys all like it? Does it ever get kind of like annoying? I know there's some NES songs that are just, maybe 2 seconds of a sample, and it just keeps repeating over and over. We're traumatized by Back to the Future for NES.
We will never forget.
I think the music in Mega Man, personally, if I'm going to start, I'll say that it's one of the best I've heard on the NES.
Yeah, great tunes.
And it's just it's so melodic, while it's not the most intricate, kind of a score to a game, but it's the most catchy, the most melodic. Really sets the mood for what the kind of game it is.
I agree.
I think they did a really good job at capturing a futuristic sound to the game, being as it's all robots and supposed to be in the 20XX era.
Yeah.
They make it sound really good, really, like I said, futuristic. Although there are some levels that when you get stuck in them, that song can remind you of how horrible it can be sometimes. So, like one of the ones with Iceman and the invisible platforms that come around, and the I know it's not the music, but the sound effects of it, you're just like, oh dear God, stop already, please. Just turn the TV on mute. I don't need to hear it anymore, But other than that, I like the music in the game. It's really nice.
Ben, the story of the game, I turn to you because you know more than I do, but what is the story summarized of the first game that you can kind of put it in a nutshell?
There's good guys.
Oh, okay.
And
is there also other?
There's bad
people?
guys.
Oh, they're bad guys.
I mean, there's some more good guys too. But,
Oh.
but there's also some more bad guys.
Oh.
And there's some kind of, I don't know, fighting and stuff. And some pew pews.
Is there pew pew?
There's some pew pews. And then somebody wins, and somebody doesn't.
Oh, okay.
And then there's credits.
Somebody
of
lives and
sorts.
somebody dies.
Yeah.
Although I do gotta say, you don't really get that from the cartridge because it looks like a guy holding a gun.
Can we talk about the worst cover art of all time? That's going to be Mega Man 1's cover art.
Oh, seriously.
There's a story behind that, too.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a bad cover art. It is a good cover art. It just doesn't exactly fit with the game itself or the characters.
No,
You
it's
obviously
pretty bad.
haven't looked close enough.
While I couldn't do better, still, it's pretty bad.
I agree. I couldn't do better either. It just has nothing to do with what the game is.
Yeah.
Nothing.
There's a story behind it, and I can't remember now, but the guy that drew it, I saw an interview with him online. And we might have saw it together, and he said that he drew it because the company told him to draw what it was, but they didn't show him anything.
Yeah, I think he had very little to work on.
He just was like, okay, they told him it's a shooting game. So he drew a gun.
Yeah.
And the Mega Man doesn't have a gun. So, and then at that point, I don't know if they were just rushing to release it. They just released it with that cover art.
Yeah, I mean, as for the rest of the games that had also terrible artwork, I don't remember the story on those either, because some of them also were, didn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
At least the second game I know had, and the third, I think. It might have been not until the fourth where the artwork started to match up.
Yeah, I think I kind of recall that. Either 3 or 4. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was at least 4.
4?
Yeah. They were like, it's bad, just double down. Double down again.
Double down again, yeah.
I don't know. See, I have to fight this one because I think the artwork is good, but like I said, it just doesn't exactly match the game.
Get out.
And this is something that you see across the NES library. There's a lot of games out there that have this very intricate, very almost extreme artwork that just doesn't match the game. There's one that I remember, Kid Niki, and on the cover art of the cartridge, you see this muscular guy, and he's got a sword, and there's he's got a little bit of blood on him. And when you go to play the game, it's like
this little boy.
Yeah, it's like
a spinny thingy.
Yeah, it's just like just like with Mega Man, it's a little cartoon character, and it doesn't really seem reminiscent of anything that you see in the cover art. And I know there's a lot of games that are like that, and the art's good. I'm sure the artist tried really hard with what they were given.
I'm sure he did. Yeah.
I'll one up. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, but it just didn't match the game, and it may be something similar to what we covered in our voice acting, where sometimes maybe these voice actors were given something and not given the context or the story,
Right?
And they just read these lines.
Agreed.
That sounds good. Yeah, sure, we'll use it.
That's a good question. No, I'll one up you on there. A game I recall as a kid, Venture, it was in the arcade, but also for the Atari 2600. Big burly guy, muscular guy or whatever, like a bow and arrow and this giant snake, whatever. You're like, oh yeah, this game's gonna be great. Look at the great graphics. Look at this cool character or whatever.
Play him.
Yeah, and then you put the cartridge in the game. You start the game. You push the button, and you're a happy face with a little, literally a happy face with like this little stick coming out of the happy
Kinda
face.
do remember this.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Use that imagination.
It's such a wow.
I think any game back then had the best cover art, and the game obviously didn't match. There's no way, but the cover art was kind of a way to excite you, with I'm trying to think of which ones I can think of.
Supposed
but
to spark your imagination.
yeah, there's certain ones that you'd see the drawings, you're like, man, that looks epic, and then you turn it on, it's like, it's nothing like that.
Like Back to the Future.
Back to the Future borrowed the movie poster, so
Right.
I'll get away with that, right? Because that's I'll let it slide on that one.
Oh yeah. So
There's the cover art.
there's-
He's showing
yeah,
us Venture.
The cover art, big guy.
Yeah,
got a
that looks
sword or
very
whatever.
exciting. Yeah.
And then that's your character right there.
Oh, there it is.
That little happy face.
wow, that almost looks like a spaceship right there.
It doesn't
a
look
little
like
bit.
a happy face to me.
Yeah, well, I think he looks sad there for some
You have to
reason.
use your imagination there, Damien.
That's right.
The eyes
let
and
me
the
say
smile.
something about that for a second. Did games ever trigger imagination for you guys? And back then, like the olden days, because it did for me. I felt like certain games I'd play. I mean, let's just go to Super Mario Brothers, the original. I would kind of sit there and imagine what they really looked like because I didn't expect them to look like that, which was just all blocks
happy
and
face.
pickles.
There, he's happy now.
Oh, there he
Oh,
is.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
zoomed in.
He's
We see
happy.
it now.
It's like devilishly happy. Look at that.
Like, wow.
And he's so red.
Yes,
It's because he's being squeezed by that snake.
correct.
Yep.
I just feel like some games may have kickstarted a little of imagination for kids. I mean, because they wanted so badly to make it real, and you already played the game, and you kind of wanted to imagine what it would be like to be, say, Mega Man or Super Mario, and you start imagining things, and they made the TV shows, the cartoons, and that kind of brought it to life a little bit more. I think games back then left it a little bit more to the imagination, as you were saying, Josh. Whereas games nowadays, they think for you, basically. And I'm not trying to trash every modern game. We love modern games here. We really do. Maybe not all of them, but the goal is to look back as to what good came out of the retro, and does it have any play today?
Right. It never did for me spark any imagination. I was just always just playing it. It was something stimulating, something to look at, and have the hand-eye coordination. Just something for my hands to be able to do. So for me, it was just always just play it. It was always a fun thing for me to do at the time, and we didn't really know any more than that. So to me, it was like, oh, this is the best that it is right now, and being able to enjoy what it was then. And then as things got better, I think that might be why I tend to expect a little bit more, or at least a change in modern games than from what their predecessors were, just because I want to see that innovation. I want to see that next step into what people are going to do next.
My early library was kind of small, but there was times where you did put your imagination to work. I remember Blades of Steel. On the cover art, you have the two hockey players just like really going after the puck.
Yeah.
But then there's others that I had that really didn't have much detail to it, like the original Legend of Zelda cartridge.
Yeah.
There was no picture of Link. It had the standard on there, and it was just the beautiful gold cartridge.
Right.
And I think that game in itself inspired a lot of imagination, because even though it was detailed but simple at the same time, and I know that's what Miyamoto was going for with that game, to help inspire, boyhood memories of going out and exploring your neighborhood and the areas
Fighting
around.
monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Picking up a wooden sword. Well, yeah, it was a wooden stick, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a sword.
Take this with
It's dangerous out
Yeah.
there. It's,
And there was a lot of those games that did inspire that. And, come on, did we not imagine having a cape in Super Mario World and be able to fly with that if we ran fast enough?
I mean, I was personally Batman, but I know what you're saying. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's true because and I wonder if kids, I don't know if kids do this today, but I mean, do they sit there and imagine like stuff? Because I know that like that even just going by a Target, I see toys just on end caps are just so intricate. I'm like, whoa, that's just crazy. Kids play with this now. Like, I don't know if that's a good thing. I wonder if manufacturers are like thinking for the kids now. That way the kids just kind of are spoiled and they have, everything that they have.
Well, unfortunately, parents are buying kids games that they shouldn't be playing, and so a lot of them are the guns and stuff like that are
Yeah.
out there. So it doesn't really inspire too much imagination because now they're just these guns that just make some noise, and maybe the muzzle like kind of goes back and forth a little bit and makes a sound, and they are shooting everything. And so that's unfortunate that that's there.
And now that you touched on that, I'm curious to hear your thoughts of it. What do you think of children being exposed to levels of violence in modern gaming versus you think of a violent game back in 1987, it was Contra. It was just, we laugh at it now, but
Yeah.
back then it was seen as like, whoa, that's a little edgy. Nowadays, it's a completely different story. How do you feel about that?
It would be the same
Kyle?
thing as with movies. The movie ratings always change, and what it could be appropriate as time goes on, and what people are getting more and more used to. Unfortunately,
Desensitized.
they're more and more being desensitized.
Yeah.
So the games that we know nowadays with, Call of Duty or Battlefield or just, a number of those games, they're a lot more gruesome. They're a lot more violent versus Contra, which was, it's the realistic versus the 2D pixel hitting something and then up, you don't see the person just fall down. They explode in the game. It's like, okay, well, people don't actually explode. So
Usually.
it's
usually.
yeah. So
It happens. But
it can happen, but usually there's not a fireball explosion coming out of somebody's core. So
usually.
there isn't any type of realism there. So people just look at it and it's a cutesy like, oh well, there's nothing there. It's not violent. So back in the day, absolutely, it was horrific for a lot of people, most likely.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be something that kids played. Nowadays, you could probably have a 5-year-old play it and it's not a big deal. But yet, you're going to allow that same kid to be able to play the newest Call of Duty or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you got like Big Bird gunning down people, and it's offensive.
Yeah, you don't want that.
But it's fun.
Well, I honestly wish it was Big Bird. I mean, just the other day, my wife and I went out to a small sushi restaurant, and at the table right next to us, there was a little boy, he's no more than 5 or 6, and he was on a smartphone, and he was playing one of those games. I mean, I guess similar to a Call of Duty, but it was a lot more running, kind of a run and gun thing. But it was first person shooter, just mowing everything down. It's just like, this is a 5 or 6-year-old playing this, but no one thinks anything of it nowadays.
And I don't necessarily question every parent's choices necessarily, because each parent it's to their discretion, but
They're responsible for their children.
they're responsible for their children. I do know that places like GameStop do their part. They check ID before they sell a mature rated game. I've seen it. I've been there, and they've literally turned down kids just being like, I can't. It's refreshing to see, because at least there's some sort of control over it, whereas some kids, I don't know if they can handle it, and I don't know if it's something that they should necessarily be exposed to. I'm not the parent, but some children may be even traumatized by it. There's a lot in games now that are just so realistic, and like you said, Kyle, like in the Call of Duty, that has been compared to actual real life events that veterans have like sympathized with, because it's like, man, this is just what it was like to be in battle,
Right.
and that's what games are turning into.
And they do use those kind of games to simulations when training for the Army and Navy.
Yeah. So to turn it a little bit here, so as far as then games and shooting, I think that would you guys classify Mega Man as a shooter platform, or would it just be a platform game? Because
it's kind of a run and gun.
You have different weapons, like pretty much any other game that has a full arsenal of weapons, but yet it's done in a futuristic way where it's blasters.
It's like a run and gun platformer. I don't know.
Would you classify it
I'd call it action. Really.
Would you classify it as an RPG?
No.
No.
I don't think I would, but I know where you're getting at. There is. Go ahead. You
With-
could say your
with-
thought
with
on
the-
it.
Progression.
The modular, weapons that Mega Man picks up throughout the game, you do get to switch off and choose
Yeah,
your
upgrades.
path.
Yeah, I would consider them upgrades. I mean, it's kind of like maybe elements of Zelda where you have a better weapon for a certain occasion, but then you get a different weapon for that occasion, and you just switch back and forth. I wouldn't call it necessarily a full upgrade, but an upgrade for a situation.
Upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say something like that.
In
Makes
the later Mega Mans, you actually get clothing upgrades or ability upgrades, stuff
Yeah,
like
armor
that.
and
Yeah, and armor and
boots
stuff.
and
And
stuff.
those would be I would consider more into an RPG element. If we're even
Ish.
putting ish. if you're comparing it to like a Zelda, since he has his tunics and his weapons and stuff like that. Mega Man kind of has that in the X versions a little bit later, but with this one, it's just different weapons to be able to change to the environment that he has. So I wouldn't really necessarily consider these ones an RPG.
So a
Per se.
platform shooter then?
Yeah, probably a platform shooter.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Platform shooter.
I was trying to actually find the wiki, and I couldn't find the wiki to figure out what people are classifying it as.
Oh, Damien, since you were wondering about the synopsis, I actually found it right here. In the year 2000X, robots developed to assist mankind are commonplace thanks to the efforts of renowned robot designer Dr. Light. However, one day these robots go out of control and start attacking the populace. Among them, 6 advanced humanoid robots made by Dr. Light for industrial purposes: Cutman, Gutsman, Iceman, Bombman, Fireman, and Electman. He realizes the culprit is his old rival, Dr. Wowie.
It's Wily, by the way.
Yeah. who plots to take over the world, but is unsure of what to do. His helper robot Rock, having a strong sense of justice, offers to be converted into a fighting robot to stop Dr. Wowie's plan, becoming Mega Man. In time, he defeats the 6 robots and recovers their central cores, then confronts Dr. Wowie within his Pacific-based robot factory, which happens to be mass-producing Light's robots. After a final showdown, Wily is defeated, or Wowie, and Mega Man returns to his family.
Rinse and
Okay.
repeat.
Rinse and repeat. Yeah.
Lather, rinse, and repeat.
So that's the plot of the first one.
So that was a good question.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
I do like in this game with Electman's power, which was you could basically take out anybody in one shot. Ben, you showed us this when we were playing it to try to get through it pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
Which was you could just shoot it and then you hit
Oh.
the select button and then you keep just spamming that button.
Yeah, on certain
And-
enemies. Yeah,
It was
that.
most-
That and Cutman's weapon.
Yeah.
too. You pause it rapidly. Yeah, just.
But you
Gone.
could, you just kept doing it, and each time you opened it,
Me introduce. How did that go? Okay,
Gone.
every time you would unpause it, yes, and the hidden platforms, it would hit the person every time it would unpause, and made it a lot easier to be able to get through the game pretty quick. If you were wanting to try to get through this game pretty quick, get that power, you'll be able to take out anybody pretty quick.
Some cheats, man. Cheats.
It's not cheats; it's just know-how with programming.
So, guess what, guys? It's review time.
Mm-hmm.
This review is to say if it holds up or not nowadays. Here at Retro Game Net, we have come up with the best way to rate a game in terms of replay value and overall interest of the game. Showcase it, which means you love it and you adore it. You want to showcase it to everybody in your collection. One and done, which means you liked it, but not so much. We'll call you later, kind of thing. Or flush it equals just toilet paper. So, Kyle, go first. Tell me your rating on Mega Man for
I love
NES.
these. I love these games. I'm going to showcase this one, just because the music is really good on it. You can choose which levels you want to go to. The levels are difficult, but not impossible. The bosses are doable, and I love the fact in Mega Man games you have a boss order that you can go through, and each one has their different weaknesses, and being able to just this game in general kicks off the entire series. So if you're gonna showcase this one, to me, I showcase the entire series just because they're that good. I'd love to have a display of just Mega Man stuff everywhere.
There you go.
So it'd be great. Plus having being able to get those helmets, and they make actual Mega
Yeah,
Man
they
helmets
do.
that fit on your head.
I've been tempted to get it.
Oh, it's so cool. I'd really want to get one. So just to me, that's I'm always gonna love the Mega Man game. So I'm showcasing this one.
I'm gonna have to go and agree with you on that. I'm gonna have to showcase it, and it's not as, in some ways, it's not as good as the other games in the series, mainly because it's just harder. Because you do not have you don't have a password. You got to play it, like you got to leave the power on and play it, like, and not just There's no passwords. There's no saves. There's no nothing. Just leave your NES on and then play. Of course, you got save states, but. And then also no energy tanks. No, all the other games have energy tanks. You have no energy tanks here, friends. So you gotta just play through it and cheat ahoy.
This would be easily the hardest one in the series, I would say.
Yeah,
all of them.
I believe, like I mentioned, the PSP one earlier. I believe they did add energy tanks along with 2 more bosses.
Mega Man powered up, right?
Yeah.
For PSP.
So they did add the other features from the other games to it. Maybe even the Mega Buster, I think, too.
Yeah.
And seeing how I'm a big fan of the music, you can check out the music I did remix. You can find it on SoundCloud under Paranoia Dragon.
Josh?
I think I would have to say go with the showcase as well. As Kyle had touched on, the original game did have a lack of features that you start seeing in the other games, but as we've gone over the first couple games as a group, you just see that there really wasn't anything lacking, though. Yes, the difficulty level was much harder, but all the other games, when they added things, it was just it added to it. But the original game was great in its own right. And I know you all disagree with me on this, but if you were to showcase it, that artwork, that does stand out.
It will stand out, that's for sure.
People will know you have number one.
It's actually nice to hear that you say that, because of the fact all I've heard was, the worst things about that artwork, and there's a fan out there that likes it.
Right.
Well, and to go along with that, they did, I believe, with both Mega Man 9 and 10, which were released many years later, they did emulate that exact same artwork.
That's right, they did.
With those 2 games.
Yeah.
The bad, evil artwork.
Evil artwork.
Evil artwork.
Well, I will end it by saying something that will disappoint you guys. I showcase it. No,
I'm disappointed.
I really, really think this game is amazing. And the reason why I say that is it started the entire series, but then kind of started a wave of games that would be a run and gun, but with some really cool weaponry, really cool music, a really cool story that wasn't like, it didn't take itself too seriously. It could still be lighthearted enough to be funny, but it was still something to take seriously when you played it. It was something that you really wanted to play and you wanted to finish, but it was still fun. And the game itself, I like the fact that it's that hard. It makes it the replay value that much more in my eyes. So I would say definitely showcase it.
And for some reason that struck something in my memory. I also remember as a kid being absolutely fascinated that Mega Man blinks.
Blinks?
He blinks.
When is this?
If you let him sit there, he sits there and blinks. I do not remember
I
any
didn't know
other
that.
game until that point where a character was animated, like when you just let him sit there. I could be wrong, but yeah, he actually sits there and just blinks every once in a while. And I was fascinated by that.
Now that you mentioned that, yeah, I don't remember that happening for a while later.
It's the simple things in life that makes us happy.
Yep.
Correct.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of a show. We are so happy we covered this game. We will definitely be covering others in the series as time goes on. This was our rating review of Mega Man, but we will be doing more of the rest of in the series. Probably not in the right order, but we'll just do them as we get inspired. So if you like to go on the internet, because I know you all do, you can check us out on Instagram at retro_game night. Check out our website, www.retrogamenightpodcast.com, where we will be announcing our events and shows. We actually have our next one coming up here on July 8th, and that will be at Five Threads Brewery in Westlake Village. Look them up. If not, you can look us up on our website, and there's a link to it there. Until then, everybody, I don't know what else to say, but stay fancy. Stay fancy, people.
Pew 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 pew.
Stay fancy, Mega Man.
Yeah, very fancy. I don't know why I said fancy tonight. I just thought it would be fun. I've said everything else but fancy.
Well, that is good, Mega Man.
I'm
Fancy?
feeling fancy tonight.
Mr. Fancy
That's a
Pants.
good suggestion.
That's fancy. You feeling fancy today with your golden microphone? Feeling fancy.
The golden microphone tonight.